Check. I think we're live. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Hope everybody's having a good Sunday. What's up, guys? Thomas, Daniel, Greg, what's up, guys? Hope you're having a good Sunday. Caesar, what's up? Not that good. Gotta go to work. Hey, Ricky, what's up, man? I'm doing great. I hope you are. Yeah, we did this live stream, I think, last week, and so I decided to do it again. I don't know if I did it last Sunday or Saturday or something, but it was kind of fun. How you guys doing? What's everybody up to? Distortion Principle, man, thank you for those awesome demos. I'm so sorry I did not see them come out, but I was stoked to watch them today. I loved both of them, but I really loved seeing the comparison of the Walpurgis with the, first off, having the supergroup in there, the Laney supergroup, LABL 30, and the TI boost, the Tony Iommi TI boost, and also the Catlin Bread Sabracadabra. If you guys want to check out an awesome comparison, check out the Distortion Principle. Did an awesome comparison of those three pedals plus the amp, so you can hear how the Walpurgis sounds with no boost engaged versus that just the Laney supergroup amplifier, and then you can also hear it compared with the Catlin Bread Sabracadabra and the supergroup boosted with the TI boost. So I thought that was pretty much one of the coolest comparisons I've seen of that pedal. Hey, Dustin, I don't know if we've changed for the good or for the bad, but yeah, that Dragonaut video was a long time ago at this point. That was a fun one. That, funny enough, when I started the channel, for a long time, I didn't think I should do songs that were popular. Like, I felt that like a song that was popular that had probably been tabbed before wasn't worth a lesson because people could find some sort of tab, but ended up being that people actually like to see some of the popular stuff. So I eventually got into doing that. I guess it's not crazy to imagine, but Harry, there's a ton of good preamp pedals out there right now. Depends what you're after. Some of the popular ones are the Electronics Audio Experiments Model FET based on the Model T is a popular one. The Frost Giant Architect of Reality based on the Laney AOR is a popular one. The Fuzzlord FET 120 is a popular one. And we've got our Walpurgis Overdrive, which is also a pretty cool pedal based on the Laney supergroup. Yeah, man, anybody here, check out that Distortion Principle video. It's killer. Both his demo just on the Walpurgis and then the demo comparing with the amp itself and a couple of the other popular Iommi focused pedals. Pretty cool. Yeah, I struggled with an ear, a musical ear early on, when I was a kid, it was tough for me to get that stuff. I feel like learning scales and playing a ton of scales actually helped that a lot, just develop relative pitch for me. I struggled early on for sure. I had some friends who could really figure out songs really quick. And for me, I just couldn't seem to pick the notes out of the fretboard. But what helped me a lot was just learning scales, running pentatonic scales, and then like diatonic scales, as well as some major scales. Just helped me develop a better relative pitch, perhaps. And just, I do a lot of YouTube watching while I'm figuring out songs. Like, I'll go find the band playing the song, and YouTube allows you to slow things down without changing pitch with that little gear in the bottom right corner. So I'll use that a lot, and obviously make sure I'm in the right tuning based on what the band is using, and that's how I go about figuring out songs. So I watch tons of videos, make sure I'm in the right tuning, and then of course just listening. But I'm rarely actually just using the record album version of the song. I'm using live versions of the songs and playing along, watching where hand positions are, making sure I got the right position on the neck, making sure the chord forms are right if there's any chords. That's how I kind of go about doing that. And it's something that developed for me over time, for sure. I was definitely not naturally good at it. I think I'm decent at it. There's probably still people who are a lot better than me. Aaron, I don't know if you've seen it on Patreon. We've got patreon.com/doesitdoom. We've got a Sear tab, I think, that we did a while back. It's really good. A lot of people have learned it. But I haven't taught it yet. I did spend a bit of time thinking about teaching it. I'm just like looking through it here to make sure it's actually here. But yeah, Sear. There's the tab for Sear by Which, guitar and bass, and in Guitar Pro. So yeah, I may do a lesson on that. It gets requested a ton, which is why we put together the tab for it. I've just got lots and lots of tabs that I want to teach, but maybe that is one that we need to get a lesson. But anybody, if you're on Patreon at the riff master or higher tiers, you can have access to these bonus tabs, which are kind of just unreleased, kind of works in progress. Usually they're finished, but they don't have my final polish that I do before we release a new song lesson. Ricky is asking, what is my favorite string gauge of choice for C sharp on an SG? So obviously Tony, like the Iommi tone thing, he used really light strings, like 9s for C sharp, which I've done, which is pretty light. I've done 10s, but honestly, like at a set of something like 11 to 52 is going to hold tune best and play best for me. But if you're really chasing that Sabbath tone rabbit hole, you're probably going to want lighter, because a lot of his vibrato, the sound, the wobbliness and of his really fast vibrato, I think comes from the light strings. So I use a set of 11 to 52 or 11 to 54, something like that. I generally use 12 to 56 in C and sometimes in B, but maybe 10 to 48 or 11 to 52 in C sharp. The Beefy Slinky set is good, I think. I've been using Burley Slinkies, I think. I've actually been using Stringjoy mostly here, but for quite a while. But I was using Burley Slinkies, I think, in C, which is the 11 to 52 set. Beefy might be the yellow pack, 11 to 54. Do Fender amps doom? Well, I've got a, I don't know. Does the Sun amp count? I've got an old dual Showman reverb, which is just like 140 watt ultra linear, super. It's more mid scooped, but it's cool for drone. It's like clean forever. It's like piercing clean. It's crazy. What's my favorite tuning? I don't think I have necessarily a favorite tuning. I've got guitars that are tuned to basically everything between E standard and F standard almost at this point. And lately, over time, I think as you do, or many of us do, as you drift to lower and lower tunings, like going back up higher doesn't sound as heavy. So as I've continued to progress, at one point C standard was low, and then, B standard was lower, or B flat standard, and then you start to get into A standard and drop F and F standard. And so like this guitar here is a 7-string and it's in drop F. It's a baritone in drop F, but the top 6 strings are actually C standard, which is kind of cool. So C standard 1st through 6th, and then I add the drop F here. So that's been fun to play in, because you can do the the Conan thing, but you can also do the sleep like. Yeah, so I don't know. most of the song lessons on the channel, the majority are clustered around C standard and B standard, so I play a lot of that. But the lower I've gone, the more I don't know, it's harder to go back up because low stuff just sounds really fucking brutal. And so I've got these 2 7 strings. This one is a baritone, like I said, and it's in drop F. And so I've been playing that a lot. And I've also got another one that's in F standard. On a baritone, so I think the baritone scale, they say each inch is like a half step on gauge. So if you're going up, you know, you'd go a half step to a full step. Me, it's funny because so many people were like, get a baritone, and I finally got a baritone, and it's like, okay, you know, it's a little stiff, you know, it's like going up, like I said, a half, going from like 9s to 9.5s or 10s to 10.5s. To just add that extra 1.5 inches or something. So depending on if you're going from a Gibson scale to a baritone, you might go from, if you were running 11 to 52, maybe go down to 10 to 48 and see how that feels in C sharp. But to me, it wasn't like the biggest change ever going to a baritone. It kind of left me feeling like, well, what was all the fuss about? I mean, I guess it intonates a little better for sure. You've got higher string tension for sure. But it wasn't a dramatic change to me. Bruce Campbell. I think you just gotta grow it out and let it go. Let it go. I trimmed mine. It always looks shitty after you trim it. It's like a rule. But I had some pretty ugly ass fucking beards when I was 19 and 20 and shit just wasn't growing in, but over time, as I got old and gray, it filled out a little more. It's still not totally full. The most recognizable fuzz and distortion pedals, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with 3 of them right there, right? Like an HM2 is unmistakable, an FZ2 and Mode 2 is pretty unmistakable. Rat as well has its own characteristic sound. I mean, a Big Muff, pretty characteristic sound. My Desert Island disc, I mean, I would take Volume 4 probably. Black Sabbath Volume 4 is my favorite album probably ever. Do I ever listen to Meshuggah? No, I've never listened to them. Wouldn't know them if they came on. Happy to answer any questions. Having fun here. Like I said, we did this live QA last week, and I thought it was pretty fun. And so I thought we would do it again, see what everybody was up to this weekend. No, I don't have any specific tips on the bass tone and the Sun O-track gates of Ballard. I don't play a ton of bass overall. I should play more. I've got my bass back there. I've got all these. Like I said, I picked up a couple 7 strings, and I've been into them. 7-string baritone here. Big Rob, what's up, man? Big fan from Ontario, Canada. I was born and raised in Ontario, Canada. I was born in Newmarket, Ontario, and raised, spent some time in Barrie, Ontario, and grew up in Windsor, Ontario before moving down to North Carolina. Do I know the band Mastodon? I do. I have not listened to much Mastodon over the years. Maybe a little bit in the early days, but not much. not much thereafter. Hey man, Rob Sudbury, yep. Yep, close enough. Yeah, Irish Dogster, clarify that price, man. A Doom guitar for around, it says 15K. I don't think that's what you meant. 1500. There we go. $1,500. Well, I mean, that gives you a lot of cool options. You know, you can get a lot of cool Gibsons for that price. You can get a Dunnable DE for that price if you're looking for something more modern. It just opens up the range of options. Just comes down to what you're after, you know. You can wait a few months and get a Woodwright Warlord for that price. What's up, Ryan Isabel? How you doing, man? Practice routine for someone who wants to get into drone. Get a rat and a bunch of amps and cabs and plug them up and play loud. But honestly, the Sun lessons have been some of the most fun things to do on the channel, and they've actually been some of the most popular videos on the channel, which has been interesting. I wasn't necessarily expecting, but time after time, if I do a Sun lesson, it gets shit tons of views. So I guess you guys like seeing how drone is put together. Oftentimes, because the notes are so spread out and the BPM is so low, it can almost sound improvised, but oftentimes it's really not improvised. It's some repeating riffs in free time, but the chord shapes and the changes are the same, but the amount of beats per minute and the measures are kind of varying. So you kind of feel it out based on the amount of feedback and sustain you're getting at the time. But that's one of the way I enjoy playing drone is to kind of come up with a really slow chord progression and then play it in varying time. So there's no time signature, you're just playing in free time, but your chords and changes have a feel to them and they have a progression to them, but you just don't keep time if you want to play Sun style drone. Carlos, thanks, man. Yeah, that was so cool. Basically, Sammy, when the Doomsaw came out, Sammy Douay of Goat Whore and Acid Bath had reached out, and we know each other a little bit. You know, I interviewed him on the channel a long time ago, and obviously I've been a fan of Acid Bath and Goat Whore since I was a kid, in my teens probably, and so I reached out to him when he first showed up on Instagram and asked him if he wanted to do an interview, and he said yes. And so I had him on the podcast, and it was an awesome interview. I think if you haven't heard that interview with Sammy Douay, I mean, since then he's done so much content on Instagram, I mean, which is amazing to watch. You can kind of go and learn from the master. You know, that dude is a hell of a guitarist and writes amazing riffs and has done so for, like, you know, fuck, who knows, 20, 30 years here. I don't know. 25 years with Acid Bath, Crowbar, and Goat Whore, and everything else he's been involved with. But he reached out when we put out the Doomsaw and was just asking about it. And I said, hey, man, I'll send you one. You know, it's cool, whatever. And just, we sent him one, and he wrote back that it was one of his favorite HM2s ever. He did that little demo on it, and that was cool. And then I saw Gary Holt of Exodus and Slayer, of course, posting, like replying on Sammy's demo. And so I asked Gary if he wanted one, and he was like, yeah, send it. So I sent one up to him. And then this past week, he just posted that video, which I thought was pretty badass to have those two dudes enjoy it. And Gary said he was putting it on his pedal board, so that I thought that was pretty badass too. If you haven't checked it out, Doomsaw, that's at doom.com. You can get your hands on one of our Doomsaw single knob chainsaw distortions. We designed that thing with Nick Williams, formerly of Dunwich Amps, who's done a lot of badass HM2s. And we tried to make one that was low-end focused, that could be that sounded real good in a Doom style context. Kind of cut some of the nasal harshness out of it and boosted the overall output. So it's a beast for sure. A lot of guys have been blending it with other fuzz and just sounding massive. It's vicious. It's a vicious sounding pedal. Doesitdoom.com if you want to check it out. But that's the story there of how that all came together. Yeah, Carlos and Dustin, the interviews, man. Dennis, everybody loved the interviews. I did too. You know, we interviewed, who did I have on? I did Sammy Duet. Then we did Bobby Liebling, which was badass, of Pentagram, if you haven't checked that out. And then Jimmy Bauer of I Hate God and Down and Superjoint Ritual. And then Kirk of Crowbar and Down, of course. And so that was amazing. I mean, all those interviews were amazing. I don't know why I stopped it. You know, it wasn't because I didn't enjoy it. I think it was like scheduling and, yeah, I shouldn't have stopped it. I had another one lined up that fell through, but I should get back on doing that. They were awesome, right? Like enlightening. Yeah, I know Kirk from Buzz Oven. I mean, I met him at Guitar Center just a little while back. We went there to hang out. So I mean, I could do a Buzz Oven song or do yeah, an interview with him. I'm sure he'd be game. Yeah, that's cool, man. Maybe I should do some Buzz Oven. I've got a couple again. I don't know if I ever posted them on Patreon yet, but maybe not. I've got a couple songs. I forget which tunes I did. I'm gonna check here to see what we got. I know we did. So we did "Crawl Away," and which is a cool song. I think I actually had Kirk show me how to play "Crawl Away" just when we were hanging out. And what else is here? This is oh, we did "Don't Bring Me Down," which is of course a cover and has yeah, it seems like everybody likes the interviews. I like the interviews. But yeah, Buzz Oven stuff. Maybe I need to do that. We've got those two figured out. Like I said, "Don't Bring Me Down," Dixie sings that one, not Kirk, but I think that was like probably the most requested. Those two were the most requested, so that could be cool. And I've also done "Come to Grief," which, speaking of some sludge stuff, I've got a tab for "Come to Grief" that hasn't been put out. Gojira, like, again, I just wouldn't know it if it hit me in the face. I don't think I've ever listened to it. My favorite bass sound, I mean, my favorite bassist is Al Cisneros for sure, and I love the early Ohm albums. I just love how he'll play clean and then just take it to this massive, like, you know, blend of DS1 and DOD 250. I love those songs. Small tube amps. My favorite small tube amp that you can get well priced is the old mid-80s Laney AOR Pro Tube Lead combo. Usually the 30 watt or 50 watt versions are the most common. Now some, 85, they're built in like 85, so they could probably use a cap job, most of them and stuff, but you can pick them up. I think I saw one on Reverb the other day for $350, pretty clean. Some guy was saying it was 70 watts. It wasn't, it was 30 watts, but those are cool. Big amps with attenuators, I would look at reactive load boxes. Like, I run all of these amps you see here, which is like dozens of 120, or, not dozens, but, we've got like 120, 140, 100 watt amps, and I run them through a Torpedo Captor reactive load box, which can act as an attenuator and can also, you could just run it directly into the load box, into your interface, and you could play at whatever volume you want. I've run every single amp I have through it. Plenty. Every lesson on the channel has been done with that, and I have had no issues. I mean, a reactive load box is it's a more modern version of like a mass attenuator, right? And it just is not behaves like a speaker cab would, and so it's not going to stress your amp like some of those older style attenuators would. Now, if you're running your tube amps cranked up, in general, you're going to put stress on your tubes, which can shorten tube life. But I haven't had any issues, and I rotate amps, but I would not really hesitate to go get a badass high watt amp or high wattage amp with one of these torpedo captor style load boxes. But like I said, the Laney AOR series combo amps are badass. Every time I see the 30 watt one, I want to get it. They're cool. They're cool amps. Soylent Green, yeah, I don't think I could play Soylent Green. Brian's guitar playing on Soylent Green is fucking sick. What a cool band. There were old lessons on YouTube when the last record came out that he did, and someone had like some, for some promo on some sort of guitar related website. He taught how to play some Soylent Green riffs, and it was badass. But they're gone. I looked for them a few times and I can't find them. Jake, I don't know. I've been liking my 7-string guitar. I didn't know if I would. I don't know if I love it. I'm still. It's still a little weird to think about it, but it's like so. C, F, A sharp, D sharp, G, C, and then a drop F, which is just pretty fun because you got the full. I don't like when I'm in drop F in general. I feel like you're kind of, and you try to play leads. You're missing that C note at the bottom, and everything sounds really dark. And so I tend to not really favor leads once I get down there in the A standard or lower range. And so I thought maybe a 7-string would be cool because you get that string back. And so like I said, you got a C standard guitar here, which is like Sleep or Windhand, or many countless other bands, that we've explored on the channel. And then you got the, you can either, I've got it, like I said, in drop F, but I guess it would be G standard if I were to tune it up, right? And like I said, I've got another 7-string that's in F standard. And I guess that one, the other 6 are in B flat standard, which I still think sounds good. It's like once I get A or below, I think I don't know, the leads don't sound quite as good to me. They're just too dark. So that's kind of why I did it and why I've been experimenting with it. This one, like I said earlier on, is a Baritone LTD Viper Black Metal Baritone 7, and it's a pretty badass guitar. I've really liked it. Yeah, I mean, people, I don't know, intonation starts to get pretty bad if you go below B maybe, below B standard, on a 24 3/4 inch scale, but like lots of bands do, right? Like, I mean, still, if you look at early Bong Ripper stuff, they're playing Les Pauls and stuff in F standard, and a lot of guys have changed over the years as more and more has become available. You see guys get up to 25.5 inch scale length, and then longer now, more baritone, but you still see a lot of bands playing drop F or F standard using 24 3/4 or 25.5 inch scale length stuff. And for doom, it may not matter as much as for some other genres. But I think once you start to get below B on a 24 3/4 inch scale, you start to be bottomed out on some of the saddle adjustments, and you just kind of got to deal with it. Saint Sabathie. Yeah, I've got a couple Vitus lessons on Wino era Vitus lessons on the channel. What did I do? I definitely did Dragon Time. And what else did I do? Man, that's going back. I think I did Dying Inside, Saint Vitus. Mayfly, Fran Fret, that'll be the next thing I have to try. I've not tried anything like that. This is my first baritone. Like most of my guitars are 24 3/4 inch scale. I've got another that's 25.5 inch scale, and then this, which is 27 inch scale. Am I a fan of other styles of metal? I'd say I'm more of a casual fan, but yeah, you know, I'm into it. Death, like I had phases, right? Like growing up with a little bit of death and thrash, of course, and black metal, but doom is what kind of just once I got into doom, I think I just really dove into it and didn't listen to the other stuff as much, but it's been cool as we released the Doom Saw, which is obviously a most prominently used the HM2 in death metal. Seeing a lot of these dudes get the Doom Saw and play death metal on it has kind of made me enjoy listening to that style of music. Just watching all these guys play it. Hey George, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys tuning in and hanging out. And yeah, I love doing it. It's been just a wild thing, you know, when I wasn't expecting really much. I was expecting people to tell me to fuck off when I first started the channel. I don't know why I was expecting that, but I thought I would try to approach teaching doom metal and stoner rock and sludge and drone and from like you know, from in the way that some of the other genres of music are taught on guitar, and to my surprise, a lot of people enjoyed it. And so, you know, that's led to a lot of different things. But ultimately, that's when I started out. I just wanted to teach some lessons. Valpurgis restock, Joe. We're working on it. It's been tough to get all the parts we need to build that. It's a single knob pedal, but it's you know, there's a lot going on inside that circuit. As it is a full emulation of a Laney supergroup, in addition to a modified Rangemaster. So it's a single knob pedal, but there's a lot of components in there. And hopefully we can get another batch together. Geez, I don't even want to quote a date, but we're definitely trying to build another run. It's just trying to get all the components we need to make it happen, in addition to some other development we've got going on and new releases we've been working on and such. So, but we did the last run, and the last batch sold out in like 24 hours, which I don't think we were expecting, but I mean, it's cool. We appreciate that everybody digs it so much. Like I said, the Distortion principle, we talked about it early on, but released 2 amazing demos just recently. Go check out his channel, the Distortion principle, and see his demo of the Valpurgis. And then he did a comparison with the Laney supergroup, 30-watt supergroup, as well as the Catlin Bred Sabracadabra and the Tony T iBoost. And go check it out. Maybe you can hear why that pedal has been so popular, because it sounds really good. Yeah, Argent Pure, the Massive is a great pedal. I've got the original version, and then I've got the Four Horsemen version, and I love them both. I think they're both really, really great, and especially for the price point that Eric does on those, it's tough to beat for a fuzz face based fuzz. Especially if you're just getting into it. I love that pedal. The further down you tune with those pedals, the better they sound, because they have a bit of a, I'm just saying that circuit in general has a bit of a bright nature to it, which works really good around C and stuff for stoner rock, but crushes when you start to get down, like say below A standard for doom stuff. Right now, and speaking of stock, so right now we have 6 pedals that we do. The Hyper Coven, the Doomcaster, the Fuzz Coven, the Valpurgis, the Doom Saw, and the Sabathie Fuzz. We are sold out of the Hyper Coven, the Valpurgis, and the Doomcaster, but we have remaining stock of the Doom Saw, the Sabathie, and the Fuzz Coven. So that's what we have in stock right now. Doom Saw is HM2 based. Kind of that tone from Conan's Existential Void Guardian style, especially if you blend it with our Fuzz Coven, which, as I've just mentioned, great for stoner rock, that style of circuit, and also awesome for doom, especially in the really low registers. And then the Sabathie, which is based on the Hyperfuzz to give you that Dope Throne era Electric Wizard style tone. So that's what we got in stock right now. Another pedal deep in development, almost ready for release. Just sent the printer just finished the powder coat, and we just started the printing, and just got to finish up the actual circuit. Fuck. We keep doing these small revisions, trying to get it perfect. These single knob pedals, it's like, again, at the end of the day, the user sees a single knob, but in the background, when we develop the prototypes, there's like 10 internal trim pots that I'm working with to try and get the sound exactly how we want it. So, been a lot of development and a long development. And people ask, will we do some multi-knob pedals? We've got a whole bunch of multi-knobs in development as well, but have had a lot of fun with the single knob series, and it's been a huge success for us. So we've continued on that path as well. Misha, you've got a 65 SG Special. So do I. If you've got a 65 SG Special, you've got the pickups, right? The P90s. So the biggest thing for me is in Iommi's 60s sound. You're going to want to be on your bridge. For rhythm parts, he played on his bridge pickup with the volume usually around 8 or 9. And for leads, would crank it to 10. Using obviously famously a Laney Supergroup amplifier, 100 watt, plugged into the high bass input, with all the controls on 10 and the bass at 0, which still has a ton of bass, if you've ever heard that amplifier done like that. Those early amps, a lot of guys would do that and then turn the bass way down. When I do it, I probably run the bass around 3, and I back off the presence a little bit, depending on how loud I'm playing, but then he would hit the amp with a Rangemaster boost to kind of give it that really biting trebly sound that you can hear in Tony's playing, and to further overdrive the amplifier. So our Valpurgis is based on that combination of the bass input of the Laney Supergroup with a blendable modified Rangemaster. And so that's what we've done to try to package that tone into a single knob pedal. But if you want the real thing, I'd get an older British tube amp like Marshall's of the day, super lead, super bass, and get yourself a Rangemaster, P90 pickups, bridge pickup, and drop that volume. You don't want to be too hot on that pickup either. I feel like you start to get out of range. Like, it's probably, a vintage wound P90 is going to sound good. Lowest tuning practical. I think, we talked about that a little early. Lowest tuning practical for a 24 3/4 inch scale length Gibson. I wouldn't be scared. Like I said, the guys in Bong Ripper back in the day were using, Les Pauls tuned to F standard. So you will start to run into intonation issues. But I think if you go up big enough on string gauge, you'll be able to at least accommodate it in terms of tension, and there's no harm in fucking around. I guess you do have to get nut slots cut and a full setup and whatnot, but I would do it if you want to, or progressively work down. Right. I mean, that's at the end of the day, it's having the string gauge correct. I mean, the best thing, and like I said, I use Stringjoy, but if you go to tension.stringjoy.com, this is the website for figuring out what strings you need. And so pick your scale length, stick it in here, fill this out, pick a guitar that you like, its scale, what it's tuned to, and what strings are on it. Fill this out and see what tension it shows you. And that can give you an idea of what tension you're going to need in any tuning if you want it to feel the same. So, this is a simple calculator. When you're done, you hit Get Custom Set and you buy it here. It's just the best way to go about making sure your guitar is going to feel right in whatever tuning you're in with whatever scale length you've got. It couldn't be simpler to fill out. And, that's how I end up with piles of string sets of different gauges for all these different guitars. So those guys are great dudes, and this is it's just an easy to use string tension calculator. So if you've never used it, tension.stringjoy.com, go check it out. And that's where I get my strings now exclusively, because it's just easy. They've got exactly what you need. You can build your custom sets and tune however stupid low you want, which is what I do. You know, nut files are expensive, right? Like good ones. Let me see. What do I got? What do I got? And I will say, you know, if I'm going to get a bunch of nuts filed, I'm not going to, you know, you need individual gauges, right? I've got these StewMac nut slot files, but they're expensive. You got to get them for each gauge that you want to file. So those are good. I've seen people do interesting things, though. You can, like, take a drill bit and put some sandpaper around it and file the nut slot. Once you get into the 70 range on gauge, you're going to have to drill out your tuning peg. I think it's like 72 or something will stop going through there. So 74 and 80, which are going to be really your only two options, or bigger, like 85, 90, if you're going to try to tune your 6th string to F. This is a 74 on a baritone scale, and it's still a little loose. My other guitar has an 80, and I could tell in that string tension. When I calculate the string tension, the 74, even on a baritone scale, is not going to have quite the tension it needs. It's still fine. It holds tune. It plays good, but I think I've got an 80 on the way from Stringjoy to replace it. I thought the 74 would be okay, but so there's different options. You can get, like, people use what's the there's like another tool people use to try to file nut slots. I mean, you could find a pretty cheap option, but I've seen people take drill bits of the right size and put sandpaper on them and kind of run them through the slot. Obviously, you can buy a proper nut slot file. And there's another car tool. I can't remember exactly what it is that people use to try to file. Yeah, do I ever use flat wounds? I've got a few guitars with flat wounds on them still. Flat wounds are going to dull your tone. It's like a dramatic change. If you've ever tried flat wounds compared to round wounds, I thought it'd be a small change. On guitar, you don't quite get the tension change that you get on bass. Like if you go from rounds to flats on bass, it's a huge change in tension. But it's going to take your tone and mellow it out, cut out some of the high harmonics and string noise. Like you're not going to you can't pick scrape on flats. Like flats makes the entire guitar feel like it's got plain strings on it, just in terms of how everything feels. And it almost seems like you've reduced the output of the guitar, certainly cut high end, cut string noise. It's a big change. I do have it on a couple guitars. I also have half wounds, which are like in between, which are a neat compromise, which are just not quite the same as either, but right in the middle there, as you'd expect. And so, yeah, custom string sets from Stringjoy. One of the things they don't do is flat wounds at the moment. I do believe they are working on it from talking to those guys, but they don't do them. So I still have a couple guitars that use Diodario flats. And flats are expensive. Headless guitars, I'm not so into it. I don't know why. I mean, it's probably cool. It's fine. What does it matter, right? I mean, I don't know if you like it. I'd say do it, but it's not something that I'm really into. Yeah, a bit of actual string. Does he file with the string, or does he throw sandpaper on it? Like whatever you can get to work, you know? Layer 8, are you just kind of filing with the string itself, or are you doing anything different? I've done that. I mean, I did it on my other guitar. It seemed to work okay, but I felt like the slot was close to the 80 to begin with. The Hizamitas. I have not tried it. It's cool. I've got just so many big muffs, you know. I tend to just use my old 90s Green Russian. But I have wanted to pick it up. I've been thinking about picking it up. I mean, no surprise. It's kind of what Wada's used as her main big muff for a while, I think. Yeah, filing, and it's not the best for sure, I would guess, but it's also, if it's possible and it works, then it's better. Those nut slot files are expensive to get the StewMac ones. And it sucks to have to take your guitar to a luthier just to have your nut slots filed. VSTs, George, you're asking about that. I just don't know much about that stuff. I use, like, the furthest I dip into that world is I use a torpedo captor, like I said, with the torpedo, or the 2 notes torpedo captor with a 2 notes torpedo. It's called Torpedo Remote, but it's essentially their wall of sound software. And I use that for cab sim. And so that is the extent of what I do with any modeling stuff. So I don't really know anything about it. I do like mint chocolate chip ice cream. Who doesn't? Stoner Witch, what's up? Yeah, Discord. Does It Doom Discord server is the place to be. If you want to hang out with a ton of awesome individuals who are all into this style of music, it's you can become a member by being a member of our Patreon community, patreon.com/doesitdoom. And I think the Riff Master tier on up is can become a member of that Patreon community, or of that Discord community. And just a ton of cool people in there 24/7, it seems like. It's grown to be a pretty sizable community, and really cool. Hooked up to a machine donating plasma. That's awesome. Well done. It's been a long time since I donated blood. Yeah, it's kind of true, you know, like part of the fun for me to, which is just is what it is, but to, like, if you take away the amps and the pedals and the stuff, you take away all the gear, it's just not, I don't know, you know, it's like, it's just part of what I love about it is all the gear and the pedals and the hardware. But that's not to say that I don't think the VST world is awesome. Like, I do think it's really exploding, obviously, with lots of cool options, and it's probably something I need to learn more about and experiment with, because I get asked about it a lot, but unfortunately I'm just not very knowledgeable with it. Spell of Destruction. Have I ever played a Green Russian? Yeah, I've got an old Green Russian, Big Muff back there, a Sovtek deal, and it's cool. They're regarded as the best muffs for big muffs for a reason, I guess. For this genre, they got a lot of bass, still got that kind of mid scoop, obviously, that's characteristic of a big muff. But I've got the reissue as well, and I was surprised actually how different the reissue and the vintage muff sounded. Not to say one was better or worse, but they were different enough. But you always hear that the old muffs had a lot of variability in terms of how they sounded. Thanks, Bren. MiG 100, cool amp. Yeah, I don't know how many versions of Pig Muffs I've got here now. I mean, it's not obscene, but I've got, at least 4 or 5 Electro Harmonix Big Muffs, and then some boutique Big Muff variations as well. Base 6. I mean, why not? Fuck yeah. I've thought about getting one. Layer 8. Yeah, that's one of the things with direct recording. It kills the feedback, which sucks. So a lot of, when I'm doing lessons and stuff, sometimes I'm running the just depending on, for sure, when I do drone stuff or anything that requires like real sustain and feedback, you've got to have that the sound in the room to get it, or else it just won't feedback properly. And this is the old Russian muff. Yeah, so this is the old. I like looking for the beat up shit, you know, so you can get a good deal. If you see them beat up enough, this is I don't even remember, what's it called, V7A. I guess it's the first version of the Green Russian, and I got it for a good deal because it's really beat up, but it sounds great. About fucking fell over all the shit in here. I've been trying to, or at least thinking about selling off some guitars and such. I just have too many. Since I started the channel, I started hoarding shit. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's awesome. It's just beautiful. No battery door. It's like all the shit that, you know, it's all the paint's peeled off. You can barely read the logo. Battery door is gone. But, you know, so it was way cheaper than a mint one. No box, obviously. But, you know, probably half the price of a mint version. Yeah, and I've got, like I said, I got the reissue too in the closet over there. The real Lee Hawk. So if you're coming from a heavy metal thrashy, I think thrash is actually great, you know, like especially for doom, right? Just like slow it down. The intervals are the same. A lot of the scales are going to be the same, like harmonic minor and Phrygian and things like that. So many doom riffs are using those scales. So just think about that and the thrash dissonance that you would get played fast, but just slow it way down. I agree. Beating up everything. Like this old Mad Amp cab, it's all beat up. It's been, you know, I got it cheap. It looks awesome. I know. I've got boxes for so much shit around here, and again, I'm thinking about just dumping them in the trash. Like, why the fuck do I have bins of boxes? It's stupid. But yeah, you can. I find you can always find better deals if you're just willing to get that piece that's more beat up, you know. And then you always think about. I'm surprised people aren't making like aged pedals yet. Maybe that's what we need to do with Does It Doom. We'll make our pedals. We'll beat the shit out of them and then sell them for more, authentically aged. It does. It's true. Can't deny it. But some people hate it, right? Some people want their shit to be pristine. It's like there's a tipping point where something looks like just mistreated versus vintage and, you know, all weather checked out and beaten and banged and has that aged look versus like, you know, one or two big dings and on a guitar that's 10 years old or something. I don't know. But to me, I would rather buy gear that's been used. And usually relic pedals, there you go, right? It's like, I'm surprised it hasn't been done, right? I bet someone could relic some pedals and come up with some way to increase the price. But that's funny because if you buy relic custom shop guitars, they're always super expensive, and a lot of times the relic jobs look like trash. And then you can buy an authentically used and played instrument for far less, you know, and less than a going rate because it's not mint. But I don't know. I like my stuff like that. Like I that's what I prefer. I mean, it's not, I'm not precious with my guitars. Like I put them on the ground, they get scratched. It's just, I don't care that much. Yeah, finish checking is cool, you know, like I think finish checking looks cool. How long have I been collecting gear? Well, I've went through stages of collecting gear throughout my life, collecting and selling and you know, I'm always trading. I think once the channel really started to get rolling, I started to just collect more and more and not sell so much. Just because I'd always think, well, oh, I could use this or that or this, and I'd come up with some reason not to get rid of anything, and so I ended up with just tons of stuff. And now I'm trying to purge some of it. I need more room and space and. I'm wondering, do you guys keep your pedal boxes? How many people are like pedal box collectors versus just toss them out? Yeah, I have thought about doing that video. Have I ever thought about doing a video on cheap imported gear? I mean, I use a lot of stuff like that, or have used here and there over the years. Stuff that, I think I usually tell people, it just depends on how much volume you're after and what your budget is overall, because it can be very specific. But, the best cheap pedals I tell people to get their hands on, like a Green Russian Big Muff reissue if they want that classic muff sound. Get their hands on a Proco Rat reissue. Great. Both of those pedals can be had for under $100 each. I like the Behringer SF300 Super Fuzz. If you want a Hyper Fuzz, there's absolutely no reason not to spend $25 on that pedal, or 30, whatever it is now. That's really the one you get first. And then, something like the TC Electronics iMaster, if you want something that does the HM2 thing and sounds awesome, you can get probably all 4 of those pedals for, if you buy used, which you should, like 200 and something bucks. And then that's like the 4 pedals that every boutique builder is making some variation of. We've done our share. It's like, but you can get those real deal. The Rat's probably 60, the Muff maybe 80. That's 140, $25 on top of that to get the Super Fuzz. So what's that, like 165, and then an iMaster is like $80. So it's like you're just under $250 to get basically the core dirt sounds of so many bands. And then, like I said earlier, the Frost Giant Massive, if you want that, it's like $125 brand new. You can find them for $100. And there you go. So for $300, you've got the foundation of all the dirt pedals that are basically fuzz and distortion used in the genre. Super Fuzz SF300 Behringer. I mean, it's $25. It's like it sounds exactly like a $300 Boss Hyper Fuzz. I mean, exactly. So. I think the Quantum Mystic is based on the Ross Distortion, is it not? And maybe that's close to the DoD 250, but as far as I know, the Quantum Mystic is based on the Ross Distortion. This guitar, Stoned asking about this guitar, is an LTD Viper black metal. It's a 7-string. It's a baritone. It's a single pickup, high output ceramic mag Seymour Duncan Black Winter with a push-pull single volume knob. So it's bare bones basic. Like I said, 27-inch scale, baritone. I've got it in drop F. Sean, how do I like the Model T? I mean, the Model T is badass. Everybody... I think the big difference with the T being, 6550 or KT88 tubes and the increased power, it's just got a lot more bass than any of my, say, 120 watt EL34 based amps. And that's what I noticed. Just as you crank up a T, it's super fucking loud and it just thumps, it pushes the low end like a lot of this other EL34 based stuff that I have does not. So that's the big difference I noticed with the T. And it's not a high gain amp by any means. when people think of the Model T, I think they think Sun, and what you're hearing with Sun for the most part is the Rat, you know. But obviously it does bring that low end into the picture more, which is probably why it ends up working so well for that style of music. But I was fortunate to get in there and get one. This is a 74 Model T first gen, and I was able to get in there before the prices got fucking insane. You know, people trying to sell them for $5,000 and $6,000. String tension. Hi, Steve. I have a question regarding string tension. I'm still somewhat of a new player. I have always struggled with playing with less pressure. Yeah, I mean, you just got to work on having a softer touch, I guess, and try different gauges. Robert, appreciate you, man. Yeah, the Acapulco Gold, I mean, that's good marketing, but that's not a Model T. I mean, I don't think. Doesn't sound like my Model T anyway. It's just, the T is just not that high gain. It's just not. Drop F, yeah. I've got, like I said, this is in drop F, and then the guitar in F standard that I've got really vibrates the fucking worms from the ground. Anybody see that worm moon, the full moon that was out the past few days here? Fuck, that was badass. It was a huge full moon. It was cool. They called it the worm moon. I don't know. The Model T is a Sun amp Model T from the 70s. I think they were made from like 73 to 76 or something like that. Hey, thanks, Captain Sweeb. What did I teach? I think I taught Stone the Crow. Man, down stuff is, I think I got a lifer tab on Patreon that I haven't taught, that I've almost taught, but never have. Let's see what we've got. So patreon.com/doesitdoom if anybody wants to become a member. We've got tons and tons of tabs. A lot of, you know, they're all done in Guitar Pro format. We've got bass and guitar. Actually, I'll just go. This is the full list. So patreon.com/doesitdoom. And this is a public post, so it's open to everybody. You can see everything we've got. But so I've got a lifer tab, and Stone the Crow I did on the channel. And then lifer, I've got a tab that I have not taught, but you know, we've still got it in Guitar Pro and for guitar and bass. Guitar Pro, if you want to use an interactive style viewer, or PDFs if you just want to print them out to learn the song. But we put a lot of effort into trying to get these tabs correct in position and in tuning, obviously, and try and make them exactly as the artist would have played them. And it's we've got a lot of them, like it showed there. I think we're into the hundreds at this point. And so, yeah, if you want to check out the full list there, patreon.com/doesitdoom, and you can see through, or at least check through all of the list. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got a Facebook group and a Discord community, tons of great guys in there, guys and gals, talking about this stuff all the time. So, yeah, there is the full list, and check it out for yourself. Like I said, we've got, if you want to connect to the Discord here, direct message access to me anytime you want. And yeah, so check that out. We've got I put out new unreleased tabs every month, and I think hopefully a lot of people find value there. It's been a great community. What I've been working on? Someone said, thank you for showing me the solo section of Electric Funeral. That's a fun one, right? It's like, it's accessible, and it's an Iommi solo, but it's accessible, great one to learn, especially early on when you're getting into playing lead. I was really happy with how that overall lesson went. I'm not always happy with every lesson I put out, but I love doing that electric funeral lesson. I've been wanting to teach a few more of those like classic solos, like even the Paranoid solo. I can remember being a kid, like just thinking, man, if I could play that Paranoid solo, that'd be it. I can die happy. And, eventually learned it or whatever. And it'd be fun to do some of those. I did the Fairies Wear Boots intro solo. I like to keep them short. I don't want to, I don't love learning solos anymore, note for note. Like I love to just improvise stuff, but like sitting down and transcribing and learning a solo note for note is not so much fun to me. But if it's short enough and I think people will get value out of it, it's fun. We transcribed the solo from Electric Wizard, the song Electric Wizard, and the what he said, the wizard spoke to me and this is what he said or whatever, that clean solo. I've transcribed that and I want to teach that one on the channel. It was funny when I did the lesson for that song, a lot of people asked about the solo, and it's got a few solos in that song, but I love that clean solo, and so I think I will teach that one eventually. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. 71 concurrent viewers. That's probably the most we've ever had live on a chat or on a live stream. I hope you guys enjoy this. This is my second weekend in a row doing this. I haven't done live in a long time, but I thought it would be fun to just hang out. Sometimes, maybe Sundays, maybe other days. I don't know. Drop F is heavy, but yeah, F standard is stupidly heavy. It really is. Like you're bordering on bass, right? And it just, everything sounds kind of gnarly. Is a life pedal worth the money? I mean, I would just get our Hyper Coven with a Rat, but that's me. Our Hyper Coven, the intro or the is based on that kind of input blendable analog octave section on the life pedal, so you can run it into whatever Rat you want, and then the output is just a MOSFET boost. I don't think that's as critical. I think really it's the Rat and the analog octave effect that's blendable, because if you try and apply a green ringer effect that's full on, it's too splattery and doesn't sound right. You got to kind of run it around somewhere between 10 and noon. Yeah, Holler Defender. This is actually a baritone scale, seven string baritone. It's my first baritone guitar. I kind of said it early on, but it's cool. I wasn't as blown away by the change in scale length as others. Stoned. I don't have a band, so it's funny. Like I don't write riffs particularly. Like I jam riffs. You might see them on Instagram or whatever. Like sometimes I'll just throw a riff together in 3 minutes and play it. And so I haven't played in a band in a long time, actually running. Like I have a full-time job. And then I do Does It Doom this side of things. And then we have the pedal company, and I also have Woodwright Guitars. And so that anybody who's been in a band knows how much of a commitment it is. So I just don't have time for it at the moment, but maybe eventually if this becomes my full-time gig, we'll be able to do that again. It's not that unnatural, the extra length on the neck, to me. It's a little less comfortable to me, maybe. Like this one's in drop tuning, so it's kind of easy, but it's a little less comfortable, But overall, it wasn't as, like I said, a lot of people are talking about baritones and talking it up, and I got it, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. It's a little more tension, a little bit. It wasn't dramatic for me overall. Like the intonation is nice, right? Like you can see in drop F, there's still room that's on the saddle on the F, which is cool. So it intonates better. Jason, we have been working on a reverb and a delay, and we may. I've got that Fuzzlord Dark Master. It's great. The V2, somewhere back here. Here it is. The V2 Dark Master Blood Spatter Edition. It's a fucking killer. This delay is killer. And I like the V2 version over the V1 because I like what they did with the tone knob as opposed to just the boost or level, which I found myself always kind of setting at unity. No, this is a 7-string. For B standard, I like something like 20. I like 12 to 56 in C and B. I would start there, and then I would try. You know, if 12 to 56 doesn't work for you, you might want to experiment with a wound versus plain G, depending. And you know, if that doesn't work, then you can try something like 13 to 60. Like I said, the best thing to do is just stringjoy.com or tension.stringjoy.com. I showed it early on in this demo or in this live stream. Tension.stringjoy.com. You can go there, input your current scale length, your current tuning, and all the string gauges you currently use. See what tension it says you've got, and then drop to the lower tuning and try and match your tension with a new set of strings and hit order, and they'll send you the set. It's like, it's the best thing ever. Cadaver Head. I don't know much about the, you know, the fan fret multi-scale stuff. I just don't know much about it. I have seen in the Discord server, I think people talk about it and saying it's not that difficult or weird to get used to at all. It's like in your mind, I think you think it'll be weird, but maybe that'll be my next thing. This was my first baritone, my second 7-string. I've got a 7-string with active pickups back there, which were both first. They were my first 7-string, my first set of active pickups, and then this was my first baritone 7. So maybe multi-scale is next. But yeah, I just think tension.stringjoy.com, if you're trying to figure out what tension to use or what string gauges to use, or you know, you can always download my tuning guide. It's free, doesitdoom.com/tuning guide. Will give you tons of information on what like a lot of your favorite bands are using for tuning and string gauge, which can just give you a ballpark to get started. Most of the scales are 24 and 3/4 or 25 and a half there. I don't have it documented because guys switch guitars all the time, so it's hard to really say what they're using, but most are probably actually 24 and 3/4 at the time that I compiled that guide. Budget-friendly combo amp for Doom. I mentioned it early on, but I like the old AOR series. The 30-watt combos are killer. Oh, that's too bad. On the package, did you contact them? Those guys are good guys. If they didn't, I'd be surprised if they didn't make it right. If we ship a pedal to Europe and it gets lost, guess what? We ship another one. Every time. Which doesn't happen very often, really. But we switched to FedEx, which has been amazing for our pedal shipments and pedal boards worldwide. We just ship FedEx. Shit gets across the world in like 3 days. Or 3 to 5 days. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I would have been surprised if you said Stringjoy didn't make it right, because there's a good company run by good people. Budget phaser, man. Get yourself a phase 90, right? I would say get yourself a phase 90. It's classic. Everybody's still got them on their board. Pike runs them from here and there, or phase 100. You know, you see Mike from Yob, phase 90 on his board. Yeah, the orange 120 Pro heads are cool. Yeah, FedEx. We use FedEx International Express these days on pedals. I mean, we get pedals to Australia in like 3 or 4 days. It's crazy. Any tips for getting rid of buzz? I mean, I think have you been playing a long time, Gary? Some amount of string buzz is normal, you know, especially in down tuning. Some amount is normal, but if you want to get less buzz, you might want to add some more neck relief. That can help. And obviously, you can raise your action. You can decrease how hard you hit the strings. You know, it's gonna buzz more than. But all my guitars buzz. I mean, to some degree, it's just inevitable on a down-tuned guitar. I can remember growing up as a kid, we were trying to do C sharp standard and stuff, and we'd like trying to eliminate all string buzz and just going up. I would run like 13 to 65 and C sharp standard, trying to make the thing play like with 0 string buzz, and then I couldn't play the fucking guitar. You know, wondered why I could not play lead ever at all, and that's probably why. So I don't worry too much about it. You know, most of it, once you're amplified, goes away anyway. Doom gaze. I've heard the term used a few times lately. Maybe it's a thing. I don't know what shoegaze is. Anyways, like again, I've not listened to it, but maybe if there's like, is there a good doom gaze band you can recommend? Like, I don't know what shoegaze is. Maybe I would like it straight out of the gate, but I preferred like dissonant sounding music. So if there's like a dissonant sounding shoegaze band that would be considered doom gaze, let me know and I'll check them out. Yeah, I mean, String Buzz is just gonna. This was weird because this was the first new guitar I bought in a long time, and the first that I bought at Sweetwater ever. You know, I'm always harping on buying used gear and stuff, but my thing was with this, I just couldn't find a nice used one. I had bought one, and it showed up being the 25.5-inch scale, and I wanted a baritone. So I went with them, and my point being, one of the questions they asked on their like, how do you want it set up? Because I wanted it in drop F, was like, do you want no string buzz? Do you want moderate string buzz? And I thought that was interesting, right? Because some players want no string buzz, and some are, you know, string buzz is okay. And they kind of, I think they said like, you know, very low action with a lot of string buzz, medium action with medium string buzz, and that's what I went with. The Angelic Process. I will check it out for sure. Do active pickups. Yeah, so I got my first guitar with active pickups with EMGs. I think it's got an 81 and a 70. It's a 7-string, and it's definitely, I think it definitely is noticeable. You know, it kind of gets maybe almost fizzy a bit with the high end or something when hitting fuzz with it. Sounds really good into some amps, and I'm finding it better like lower tuned. That guitar is the one in F standard right now. It wasn't like that when I got it, but it's not bad way down. But I think, you know, it won't pair well with something like a fuzz face that's looking for a passive pickup impedance kind of thing. But the 25.5, yeah, there's a difference. It's slight. You know, again, I went over this early in the video, but I think every inch of scale is worth like a half on string gauge, is a rule of thumb I've heard. So if you're going up from 25.5 to a baritone that's 27, you'll go up a half on string gauge. So from like 10s to 10.5s or whatever. Or you could also always go, or sorry, I guess the opposite way. So from 10s to 9.5s, or you could try going from 10s to 9s. That is an old Sun, yeah. That's a Model T from 74. What's your take on the 378 Model T recreation? I love it. I think it's so cool. That dude is awesome. We've chatted a bunch of times, or at least a few times, and he is obsessed with making it as accurate as possible. And I think he's on to something. I don't know if he can scale that business and like build them at scale. You know, like I'm sure. I really thought about getting in when he was early, like when he first started opening up his books to take orders. I assume now you're probably waiting years to get one of his amps, because I mean that dude has meticulously recreated the Model T, and he's done it probably, even if Fender did it properly, like not how they did it, you know, in the 90s, but if they tried to properly recreate it, they probably would even not go to the lengths that he's gone. So 378 amplifiers, I think at 378 amplifiers on Instagram, dude has meticulously recreated the Gen 1 Model T, and he is selling them. I think he's got like 20 or something. That's cool. Waiting for a spot. So did you have to pay anything to wait for a spot? I'm just curious. Yeah, about a year. That's not too bad. Pretty cool. Pretty badass, I think. I'd be curious to see how close they sound. I bet he's got it good, you know. We've messed around with some preamp pedals on our end here with designs, and we can get it pretty close with a preamp pedal. So I would assume if you're going for the full thing, you can get it pretty damn close. No charge for the waiting spot. That's cool. He's a good-ass dude, you know. He's just a good guy, and he's devoted to doing a hell of a job. Nobody's going to touch him. If he gets rolling with it, it's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Hopefully he doesn't get, I mean, no matter what, people will drop out of that because they didn't have to pay for it, but I think the spots will get filled super quick regardless. I will say, I saw the good doctor ask the tonal difference between a 25.5 and a baritone. I mean, the higher tension seems to be a little brighter, snappier. You know, it's definitely, you can hear some more clarity, which I think is cool. But I think if you drop your string gauges enough to get back to the same tension, then you're probably in the same spot, you know. But if you do allow yourself to run higher tension, you'd probably be a little brighter. But yeah, guys, I'm going to jump off. I think been on here for a while, but I appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see, maybe do another stream next weekend. We'll see. If you guys like it, let me know. Hit me up. Like I said, we got 3 pedals left in stock. The Doom Saw, the Sabathi, and the Fuzz Coven. If you want to check it out, support the channel at patreon.com/doesitdoom. We've got an awesome community there. With tons and tons of valuable tabs and guides and everything. The Discord is badass. So thank you all for joining in the stream, and we will see you again next week. I'll probably be back with a proper lesson on YouTube. So thanks, guys. Have a great Sunday. Appreciate y'all hanging out.